Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be looking at social media,
Okay.
its impact on communication, and some of the deeper questions it raises,
Right.
about how we connect with each other.
Yeah.
Um, you might be listening because you're preparing for the Ielts exam,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you're just fascinated by this,
Oh, yeah.
this digital world that we live
Yeah.
in. Whatever your reason, I think this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, definitely.
To help us navigate this complex landscape.
Right.
I've got an expert here with me
Yeah.
who understands both the art of communication and the ever-changing world of the web.
Glad to be here.
So the source material that we'll be diving into is structured like a mock IELTS exam.
Okay.
But trust me, the insights here are relevant whether you're taking the test
Mm-hmm.
or just trying to make sense of your own social media experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
The first question is, do you use social media?
Right.
I mean, it seems like almost everyone does these days.
Yeah. These days, it's pretty hard to avoid.
But the sample answers we have here highlight that it's not just about a yes or a no.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the why.
Right. The why.
Why do you use social media?
So that's where it gets interesting.
Right.
One of the answers mentions using platforms like Instagram and Twitter to keep up with friends and trends,
Yeah.
which is a pretty common reason.
Yeah, for sure.
But then another answer takes it a step further and talks about using Instagram specifically for visual inspiration,
Oh, interesting.
like finding amazing photography and design ideas while using LinkedIn for professional networking and exploring career opportunities.
That's such a good point.
Yeah,
It's not just about being on social media,
right.
but being intentional with how you use different platforms to achieve different goals.
Exact.
It's like having a toolbox full of different digital tools.
Yeah, you can pick and choose the right one for the job.
And that brings us perfectly to the next question.
Yeah.
What is your favorite social media platform and why? I'm guessing the answers go beyond just saying Facebook because it's cool.
Yeah, you guessed right.
Okay.
The higher scoring answers delve deeper into the how and the why, providing specific reasons for their preference.
Okay.
One answer highlights LinkedIn and how it's become a valuable tool for connecting with people in their field, staying updated on industry trends, and even spotting potential job openings.
So it's not just about mindless scrolling,
Right.
but about strategically using these platforms for professional growth.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, especially in today's competitive job market.
Yeah, it's a prime example of how social media can be leveraged for career advancement, which wasn't even a concept a decade or two ago.
Right.
And the answer goes on to compare LinkedIn to other platforms,
Okay.
emphasizing its focus on professional development, which aligns with the individual's goals.
Yeah, I'm starting to see a theme here.
Okay.
It's all about being mindful and intentional with your social media use.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Let's move on to a question that tackles the big picture. Do you think social media has changed the way we communicate?
Mm-hmm.
It seems obvious that it has,
It seems like it.
but how would you answer this in a way that shows you've really thought about it?
Well, it's important to go beyond a simple yes
Right.
and provide nuanced examples and even some contrasting viewpoints.
Okay.
One of the answers we have here does a great job of this.
Right.
It talks about the speed and convenience of social media,
Uh-huh.
being able to send instant messages, share photos and videos,
Yeah.
and have group chats in real time.
Mm-hmm.
These are all things that were unimaginable just a few decades ago.
I know it's true.
Yeah.
I remember having to wait days for letters to arrive or trying to coordinate schedules for phone calls.
Right.
It's amazing how much faster and easier communication has become.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's been a revolutionary shift, no doubt.
Yeah.
But this answer also acknowledges a potential downside to all this instant communication,
Okay.
that it might be impacting the quality of our face-to-face interactions.
That's a really interesting point. You see it all the time.
Yeah.
People glued to their phones at social gatherings instead of actually talking to each other.
Right.
Have we gained so much in terms of connection, but lost something along the way?
It's a question worth pondering, especially as our lives become increasingly intertwined with digital technologies.
Yeah.
It speaks to the idea of digital well-being,
Oh, okay.
which is something we can delve into a little later.
That sounds fascinating. Let's definitely circle back to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, question 4
Yeah.
asks, how often do you use social media?
Okay.
I have a feeling a simple every day for an hour isn't going to cut it here.
You're right. The best answers go beyond just stating the quantity of time spent and provide a more detailed picture of when and how that time is used.
Okay.
One answer mentions using social media daily, but specifically in the evenings after work as a way to unwind and connect with friends. It also mentions browsing Instagram for creative inspiration and catching up on news shared by friends on Facebook, and occasionally using LinkedIn for professional networking.
It's like the difference between saying, I ate dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and describing the delicious meal you had,
Mm-hmm.
the atmosphere of the restaurant,
Yeah.
and the company you enjoyed. The details make it come alive.
Exactly. It's about painting a richer picture and demonstrating a more sophisticated understanding of the role social media plays in your life.
Okay, on to the final question in this set.
All right.
Do you think people spend too much time on social media? I have a feeling I know where this is going.
It's a question that sparks a lot of debate,
Yeah.
and rightfully so.
Okay.
The answer we have here takes a clear stance.
Okay.
Yes, people do spend too much time on social media,
Mm-hmm.
and then backs it up with concrete examples and thoughtful explanations.
Okay. Give us the juicy details.
Right.
What kind of examples are we talking about?
Well, it mentions the all too familiar sight of people glued to their phones, even during meals or social events. Oh, yeah.
Which many of us can probably relate to.
I've definitely been there.
Then it highlights how overuse can have negative consequences, even if social media can be entertaining and informative.
Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of negative consequences are we talking about here?
Things like reduced productivity, sleep
Mhm.
deprivation, and even mental health issues like anxiety and depression.
Wow, those are some serious consequences.
Yeah.
It really highlights the importance of balance and moderation when it comes to social media use.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this answer so effective. It's not just an opinion, it's a well-reasoned argument supported by evidence and examples.
Yeah.
It also touches on the concept of the attention economy,
Okay.
where social media platforms are designed to keep us engaged for as long as possible,
Right?
often at the expense of our well-being.
That's a really insightful point. It's not just about individual choices, but also about the way these platforms are designed and the incentives they create. This is definitely making me rethink my own social media habits. It's all about being aware of the forces at play and making conscious choices about how we engage with these technologies.
I'm already feeling like I'm learning so much from this deep dive.
Good.
Before we move on to the next set of questions, I want to ask you,
Okay.
what are some of the key takeaways that have stood out to you so far?
Well, one thing that strikes me is that even a topic as seemingly simple as social media can reveal a lot about our values, goals, and even our anxieties.
Oh, wow.
The way we answer these questions says a lot about how we view ourselves in relation to this ever-evolving digital landscape.
I totally agree. It's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about how we choose to use it and the impact that has on our lives. And I'm really appreciating how this source material, even though it's framed as Ielts answers, is giving us so much food for thought.
It's a testament to the fact that good communication skills are valuable in any context, whether you're taking an exam, writing a report, or simply having a conversation with a friend.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so we've unpacked the why of social media use, explored different platform preferences, and even touched upon the potential downsides of overuse and the attention economy. But there's still so much more to uncover. When we come back, we'll dive deeper into the social and ethical implications of this digital age and explore some tips for using social media in a more mindful and balanced way. Stay tuned.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of social media.
Where we're exploring not just the how of social media, but the why. What does it reveal about us? How is it shaping our world? It's like we're digital detectives uncovering clues to the human experience in the age of likes and shares.
And speaking of likes and shares, let's pick up where we left off with that question of whether people spend too much time on social media.
Yeah,
It's a question that's generated a lot of debate, hasn't it?
it has. And I'm curious, how does the source material we're looking at tackle this?
The sample answer we have here takes the stance that yes, overuse is a problem. But it doesn't stop there. It goes on to explain why highlighting the potential negative consequences of spending too much time online.
That's what I find so valuable about these Ielts materials.
Yeah.
They encourage you to not only state your opinion, but also to back it up with reasons and examples. It's a skill that's useful far beyond just taking an exam.
Absolutely. So what are some of the negative consequences that this answer highlights?
Well, it mentions things like reduced productivity, which is something I think many of us can relate to. It's so easy to get sucked into the endless scroll and lose track of time.
And that lost time can have a real impact on our ability to achieve our goals, both personal and professional. The answer also mentions sleep deprivation, which is a growing concern in our always connected world. The blue light emitted from our devices can interfere with our sleep patterns, leading to fatigue and other health issues.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I've definitely been guilty of scrolling through my phone late at night, even when I know I should be getting some rest.
a common struggle. And then there are the potential mental health implications. The answer specifically mentions anxiety, which is something that's been linked to social media use in several studies. It also touches upon the concept of fear of missing out, or FOMO, that feeling that we need to be constantly connected and up to date on what everyone else is doing, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy and anxiety.
FOMO is so real.
Yeah.
That pressure to constantly check social media and make sure I'm not missing out on something. And it's interesting how this answer connects FOMO to the way social media platforms are designed.
Yes, it touches on the idea of the attention economy, which we mentioned earlier.
Hmm.
Social media companies are competing for our attention, and they're constantly coming up with new ways to keep us engaged, whether it's through notifications, personalized content feeds, or addictive features like infinite scrolling.
Yeah, it's like they've figured out how to hack our brains and exploit our natural desire for connection and novelty.
That's a bit cynical, but there's definitely an element of truth to it. And it's important to be aware of these tactics so that we can make more conscious choices about how we use these platforms.
So it's not just about individual responsibility, but also about understanding the broader systems and incentives at play. That's a really insightful takeaway. Now, I'm noticing that the next part of our source material shifts gears a bit
Okay.
and focuses on some tips for scoring higher in the Ielts speaking test.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking these tips could be helpful for anyone who wants to improve their communication skills, regardless of whether they're taking an exam.
I completely agree. These are fundamental communication principles that apply to any situation where you need to express yourself clearly and effectively.
Okay, so let's break it down. What's the first tip?
The first tip is to expand your answers. Instead of giving brief one-word or one-sentence responses, try to provide more detailed examples or reasons to make your answers richer and more interesting.
It's like the difference between saying, I like music,
Yeah.
and explaining what kind of music you like, why you like it, and maybe even sharing a memory or anecdote related to a particular song or artist. The details bring your answer to life and make it more engaging.
Exactly. And it demonstrates a deeper level of thought and engagement with the topic.
I love that. It's not just about answering the question, it's about taking the opportunity to really share something meaningful and memorable.
Mm.
Okay, what's the next tip on the list?
Next up is using a variety of vocabulary. Don't get stuck in a rut repeating the same words over and over again. Show off your language skills by using synonyms, descriptive language, and different expressions.
It's like spicing up your language wardrobe. Instead of wearing the same plain t-shirt every day, try mixing it up with some colorful patterns and textures.
I love that analogy. It perfectly captures the idea of using language in a creative and expressive way.
Okay, so we've got expanding our answers and using a variety of vocabulary. What else is on this list of communication commandments?
The third tip is to structure your responses. Just like a good paragraph has a clear beginning, middle, and end, a good spoken answer should also have a logical structure.
So instead of just rambling on, we should think about how we want to organize our thoughts and present them in a way that's easy for the listener to follow.
Exactly. For example, you might start by stating your opinion, then provide reasons to support that opinion, and finally add an example or a contrasting viewpoint to illustrate your point. This kind of structure helps to create a coherent and persuasive argument.
It's like building a house. You need a strong foundation, sturdy walls, and a roof that ties it all together. Okay, what's the next tip on our list?
Next up is practicing fluency. This means being able to speak naturally and smoothly without overthinking grammar or getting stuck on every word.
It's like being a smooth talker, but in a genuine and authentic way. Not like a used car salesman trying to sweet talk you into a bad deal.
Exactly. Fluency is about conveying your ideas in a confident and engaging manner. It's about being able to express yourself without getting bogged down in the mechanics of language.
I love that. It's about letting your personality and your ideas shine through. Okay, we've got 4 tips down. Expand your answers, use a variety of vocabulary structure, your responses, and practice fluency. What's the final tip for communication mastery?
The final tip, and perhaps the most important one, is to stay relevant. Make sure your answers are on topic and directly address the question being asked. Don't go off on tangents or introduce irrelevant information.
So it's about being focused and to the point, kind of like a laser beam, right?
Exactly. It's about demonstrating that you understand the question and can provide a clear, concise, and relevant response.
And there you have it, our 5 golden rules for effective communication. Whether you're prepping for the IELTS, giving a presentation, or just having a casual conversation, these tips can help you express yourself with confidence and clarity.
And as we've seen, these tips are especially relevant in the context of social media, where clear and concise communication is key to cutting through the noise and making your voice heard.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this episode. We've talked about the potential downsides of overuse, the attention economy, and even some tips for effective communication. But there's still one more question that I'm really curious to explore. It's a question that's been lingering in my mind throughout this entire conversation.
I'm intrigued. What's the question that's got you so captivated?
Well, we've been analyzing social media from a somewhat critical perspective,
Right?
pointing out the potential pitfalls and downsides.
Mm.
But I'm wondering, is there another side to this story? Are there ways in which social media can be used for good? Can it be a force for positive change?
That's a fantastic question, and it's one that deserves a thoughtful exploration. So let's dive into that when we return for the final part of our deep dive.
I can't wait. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm so glad you're still with us.
Me too.
You know, it's interesting.
What's that?
We've been analyzing social media from a somewhat critical perspective,
Right.
pointing out the potential pitfalls and downsides.
Mm.
But I'm wondering, is there another side to this story?
Yeah.
Are there ways in which social media can be used for good? Can it be a force for positive change?
Absolutely. I think, in fact, I would argue that social media has become an essential tool for social change and activism in many ways.
Okay.
You know, it allows people to connect with like-minded individuals,
Yep.
organize protests, and spread awareness about important issues in a way that was never possible before.
That's true. I'm thinking of movements like Black Lives Matter,
Right.
Me too.
Yeah, great examples.
which gained incredible momentum through social media.
Yeah, for sure.
It gave a voice to those who might not have otherwise been heard and created a platform for collective action.
Exactly. Social media can be incredibly powerful for mobilizing people around shared causes and creating a sense of solidarity.
Hmm.
It can also be a valuable tool for disseminating information and breaking down geographical barriers.
It's like having a global megaphone
Right.
that allows you to reach millions of people instantly. That's pretty incredible when you think about it.
It is. And it's not just about large-scale movements either.
Okay.
Social media can also be used to foster community and support on a more personal level.
Oh,
You know, there are countless examples of online groups and forums where people connect over shared interests, experiences, and even health challenges.
yeah, that's so true.
Yeah,
I've heard stories of people finding support groups for rare diseases
right.
or connecting with others who are going through similar life challenges.
Mm-hmm.
It creates a sense of belonging
Yeah.
and shared understanding that can be incredibly valuable.
It speaks to the human need for connection and belonging,
Right.
which is something that social media can facilitate,
Yeah.
both on a large and small scale.
So while we need to be mindful of the potential downsides of social media,
Yeah,
it's important to recognize its potential for good as well.
for sure.
It's a tool, and
Yep.
like any tool, it can be used for both positive and negative purposes.
Right.
It's up to us to shape how it's used
Uh,
and to ensure that it's contributing to a better world.
couldn't agree more. And that brings us back to that thought-provoking question we posed earlier.
Yes.
If you were designing the perfect social media platform, what features would it have?
I love that question. If we could reimagine social media from the ground up,
Right.
how could we design it to encourage more meaningful connection, foster empathy, and promote positive social change?
Well, one idea that comes to mind is creating platforms that prioritize quality over quantity
Okay.
instead of endless feeds designed to keep us scrolling.
Yeah.
What if we had platforms that curated content based on our interests and values,
Mhm.
or encourage deeper engagement through thoughtful discussions rather than superficial likes and shares?
I love that. It's about shifting the focus from mindless consumption to mindful engagement.
Exactly. We could also explore ways to design platforms that promote digital well-being
Okay.
by encouraging users to set healthy boundaries,
Yeah.
limit their screen time,
All right.
and be more mindful of their online interactions.
And what about addressing issues like misinformation and online harassment? Could we design platforms that are better equipped to handle these challenges?
Absolutely. There are a lot of innovative ideas out there, such as using artificial intelligence to detect and flag harmful content,
Yeah.
or empowering users to report abuse more effectively.
Okay.
You know, it's all about creating a safer and more respectful online environment for everyone.
This has been so insightful. It makes me hopeful that we can harness the power of social media for good and create a digital world that's more connected, more compassionate, and more conducive to human flourishing.
Yeah, I share that hope. I think it's an ongoing conversation
Yeah.
and one that requires collaboration between technologists,
Yeah.
policymakers, and everyday users like ourselves.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Greg,
It's been a pleasure having you on.
likewise.
And thank you to everyone for listening.
Thank you.
We'll catch you next time for another deep dive.